I'm on fire about this class.
Oh, what? Tell me what you said again, because I was
I said
getting
I
a
listened
message.
to some of your videos and I'm like on fire about this class.
Yay, I love hearing that. Yes. So today, September 15th, 2021. Oh my goodness, so much going on in the world. And all the more reason for us to come together and align with the teachings of A Course in Miracles. Because if there's something that I've become really clear about, and this is really, it's really fascinating um, to recognize this. But the people who, the students that I've had, hello, Miss Luana, hello, Kat, Angela, I see you're there, Rebecca, so fun to have you guys
Oh, and
here.
Dondra's on.
Dondra's
Hey!
on. Old friends from my old class from Unity. Um,
Awesome.
I got to
so,
get
You
my
can't
screen off.
shake us off.
I'm here. I'm just going to turn my screen off. I got to make some food. So I'm here.
oh,
I'm just going to turn my screen off.
awesome, awesome. Glad having your presence here. Dr. Vern and Christo, so fun. So if you know something that I've noticed is that some of I'm going to say every student of A Course in Miracles that I have had that has gone deep with me and really are taking what the Course intends for us to understand to heart and are applying it in their lives, I'm noticing that they are the ones who are also patriots. They are the ones who are also able to see what's going on in the world and are understanding the distinction between what the ego is making of this world and what God wants us to experience in this world. And they're two very different things. So the more that we get clear that the ego looks to block freedom and the soul is all about the expression of freedom, the more we're going to be able to navigate through what is happening and the big challenges that are coming, because we have to make a decision. Are we going to be operating in the freedom that God has given us as a birthright, or are we going to succumb to look for safety in the outer world, which means we have created authorities of men and women who are listening to their ego? Because as the Course teaches us, and I believe it's something we looked at last week, and if it was, maybe it wasn't in this class, I can't remember. I think it might have been in this class. But we can't have two masters. We can only have one. And not only does the Bible teach that you can only worship one master, that's it. It's either going to be God or it's going to be money. And the ego is all about money because the ego doesn't understand God. The ego doesn't understand love, doesn't understand sharing, doesn't understand abundance. So we've got to really get clear that what is happening in the world today is actually an opportunity for us to choose between love and fear, to choose between the ego and God, to choose between freedom and sovereignty and enslavement and control. There is absolutely no other way to go. Humanity has been operating for thousands of years where it was okay to waffle between the two. We accepted it. It was part of the way things are. We somehow, we've managed. Even though we've had teachers for thousands of years that have incarnated to bring us these lessons, we have managed because, and this is the only reason we have managed, the controllers were not so obvious with their controls. They were not so blatantly, what would be the word? Insane with their controls. They were controlling relatively small groups of people. Now they're attempting to control all people. What that means is that we must have reached a place in the consciousness of humanity where there are enough lights, enough of us have achieved the moved out of the blue color, moved into the green color, which are just, these are not actual colors that we move into. These are just happen to be the colors of the little magnet people that I get to use. But we have moved from the ego into the place where we are beginning to do the work of self-awareness. When you become self-aware, you got to you've got to shift from ego-based thinking to God-based thinking. So you got to shed your masks. You got to shed your false colors. You've got to shed who you are not and begin to move into who you are. When you move into who you are, you recognize that everybody is meant to be free. Why? Not because we decide so, but because that's how God created us. You cannot be self-aware and be in any way, shape, or form thinking that you know what is best for anybody else. Self-awareness is the act of recognizing that everybody has the voice of God inside, and either you choose to listen to it or you don't, but you don't know better for another person. You just model what you have come to understand is best for you. And you realize that what is best for you is to get honest. And honesty requires that we acknowledge that our perception of the world is always very limited to only what we can see. We can't see what we can't see. All of us, as I've drawn here so many times, all of us only have a tiny, tiny little perspective. All of us know about that much about what is possible. And most of us can't even see that little dot. See, I'll point at it. That's about all that any of us know. In the vastness of what is possible to know, in the vastness of the mind of God, we know very little. And our ego is very arrogant and thinks it knows everything, which is one of the things that we have to come to realize, is that we've been wrong all along about who we are, why we're here, what any of this is for. We've been wrong about all of it. Our hearts knew when we were little, and then we got conditioned out of that. We got conditioned out of listening to the voice of God, and we got conditioned into looking to false authorities to tell us who we are, what we should do, and what we are here to accomplish, and how to go about doing that. And in the process, we get indoctrinated out of our alignment with our self-worth, and we get indoctrinated into what is most important is our net worth, which is why we've all been trained into having credit scores. Now nobody can get anything without a credit score. And that means that we have come to value a person based on the money that they have, the money that they make, the money, money. We've made money a god because the ego has only a sense of of net worth, not a sense of net worth or self-worth. Wait, those two confused. Let me be really clear. The ego has a sense of its net worth because it has forgotten its self-worth. So this journey of shifting for many people includes a losing of your money. So right now we are in the middle of this great awakening where everything that we value is being pulled from us. And not that we're going to lose it, but it appears to many that we are going to lose our sources of income, our financial stability. We're losing our investments. Stock market's going to crash. It's coming. Get ready. So we are looking at what the ego built in such a selfish way, which meant only a few could have and the rest not. If God created us equal, God doesn't want a single one of us to do without. However, God, as the Course in Miracles has taught me, God gave us free will. And some of us wanted to experience not having. Some of us wanted to experience losing everything as the portal to waking up from the insanity of separation. So we are in the middle of observing. If you have self-awareness, you are observing, you are staying on the outside of the insanity, watching what's happening with those who are the controllers and those who are allowing themselves to be controlled. And we are out here at some level needing to acknowledge with honesty, because it's a characteristic of one who wakes up, with honesty, recognizing what scares me, what feels uncomfortable for me, because to the extent that we see where we are being tested, we've got to get honest about, is that the ego part of me that I need to now face and begin to realize that that's just not who I am anymore. And to the degree that you have risen in consciousness, expanded your awareness of who you really are, and are grounded in that as your truth, to the degree that you know truth and live by it, you walk your talk, you will have more suffering if you don't have as much awareness, less suffering if you have more awareness of who you are. So these classes, these gatherings are about taking the teachings of A Course in Miracles and really getting honest about who we are. And when you know who you are, you don't have to defend yourself, which is why for the last 2 weeks we have been studying a lesson in the Course in Miracles, lesson 153. And if somebody could write that in the chat so everybody can have it, lesson 153, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. When we understand how to operate in defenselessness, your safety shifts from external authority keeping you safe to your safety coming from your internal authority, where you are aligned with God. And as many of you are witnessing, the external authorities do not like anybody who is listening to God inside. As a matter of fact, that's why they are trying to keep people from using their religious exemptions for these jabs that are getting mandated more and more and more and more. And now the talk is that Biden is working with the governments around the world so that it becomes a kind of a global mandate. And that's only possible because humanity hasn't been paying attention to what's been going on, because those who worship money will stop at nothing to have all of it. That's just the way the game works. That is what we've got to get clear about the ego, is that because it doesn't know that it is abundant, it operates in lack mentality, and there's never enough. If we knew the number that was enough, we would all have stopped when we got to that 100,000, a million, a billion, 20 billion. Where is enough? There's never enough for the ego, because the ego has all of us operating with a carrot on a stick, chasing something we can never reach. Can't reach enough happiness, can't reach enough health, can't reach enough joy, can't reach enough money. Can't reach enough power, can't reach enough control. You always want more and more and more, because it's coming from a place inside that has a perpetual hole that needs to be filled. It needs to be filled. And the reason Course in Miracles tells us that it is a required course is because until you see that that hole is imaginary, it's made up in your mind, you're believing something that is not true, you're going to continue to defend your need to fill that hole. And it doesn't matter who you mow down. It doesn't matter who loses. It doesn't matter who loses their life, who loses their freedom, who loses whatever, if you are believing that they've got what you want. Which is how the ego, when it's in positions of authority, any kind of authority, the church authority, the government authority, the family authority, father knows best. If your parent tells you so, if your community leaders tell you so, your government, your president, especially if the Pope tells you so, when we operate inside of a belief that is not true, we can be easily manipulated. And we are kept off balance by being told that somebody else has what we want. These people get to go to heaven, but not you. These people, they get preferential treatment, but not you. These people, they're smarter, but not you. These people have more money, more status, more whatever, but not you. And you can't have that because it's their fault. So do we go to the authority that's telling us that we've got to battle these two people, these other people? No. We go to battle with those people. We stay busy battling each other, and the authorities are going, yes, we've got them right where we want them. they're busy battling each other. Now let's start planning the next thing that we're going to do to take something else from them. Let's figure out now what else can we go ahead and take from this side, so that this side, comes and says, oh yeah, I want some of that. And then we go to, okay, what can we take away from this one so that this side comes and sides with us? Because I don't know if you've noticed, now the thing is all about the vaccinated, unvaccinated. Well, it won't be long before somewhere government created, they're going to start an unvaxxed lives matter, so that we can all go to protect the unvaxxed ones, because then everybody's going to want the unvaxxed stuff, because the vaccinated people, they're going to start seeing, oh, why? These are the ones that are dying. These are the ones that are having side effects. And then they're going to be pitting us against each other. And before you know it, it'll be something else that they will want to pit us against each other. And if we don't know who we are, we're going to keep defending this idea, this illusion, this insanity, that somehow what we're looking for is not already inside of us. So with that was kind of a long monologue. I feel kind of like, what was his name, that comedian that used to come in, Johnny Carson, he'd have that long monologue. Anyways, so I love it when that that stuff flows. So I want to open this up, and I want to hear from you. How have you been applying what we've been talking about in your life and seeing some shifts? Yes, Miss Cat, please share. Let's unmute you there.
Mute. Okay, I'm unmuted, right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is really pissed me off, and I want to fight it. I don't know. So I have a neighbor. I shared on one of these calls a few months ago that one of my neighbors had stopped me and asked me if I was vaccinated, and I said yes. And I knew instinctively that it would be some kind of trouble. She's the busybody, and I should have just said, like Patty does, isn't everybody, or do something. But I just tell the truth, And so what I found out last night is I live in condos, and there's a North Tower and South Tower, but they're connected, but at any rate. So this woman, her name is Debbie, and she sent out a text to all the people that she knows, and maybe more, in all of these condos, that I have not been vaccinated. Now, I haven't seen it yet. I only heard about it last night. I'm planning to get a copy of it some way tonight. And I just feel like that's a Gestapo. It's kind of a Gestapo vaccine person. And there should be consequences for people who do this. And, there's even a site, my daughter told me, that Biden has now asking people to turn in unvaccinated people. And I would like to be able to stand up to that shit. I mean, if she puts me in a position that if it comes to it, they're going to be knocking on my door. I mean, she's narked me. And so and now I see why some of my neighbors are kind of stepping aside and stuff like that. And, or not talking to me like they used to. So I don't want to be a little sheep and roll over for this shit. I am pissed. I am really pissed. And I'd like to get any advice from anybody, and I'm perfectly happy to share my email, my phone number, whatever. Any advice, or is an attorney that I would like to sue her. I don't know if I have any grounds. Who said just, what if you choose not to defend yourself? Well, to me, I mean, this may be a defense, but it's more like, to me, it's like, this has to stop. I mean, it's so insane. And I just don't know. I'm at a loss of exactly what to do.
So let's look at what the course has to say. And because we come here to hear what the Course has to say, and then you will do what is in alignment with you, because whatever you do, you're going to do from the level that you are at in consciousness.
I'm at pissed.
Yeah, and you're a pissed, which is honesty. Let's be honest. You're down here, and if you're operating from that place, you're going to react, which means you're going to lose your power is gone. Your ego is having you believe that that woman has your power, so you're chasing for your power with a hole inside of you, which is not true. As opposed to coming at it from a place of empowerment, which means you don't defend you, you stand up for you as God created you. So right. it's a different perspective, but it's important that we understand that. So Kathy, we are not in a chapter, we are in lesson 153, continuing. But Jen, you were raising your hand.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Kat.
Hey,
hey, I don't blame you for being pissed. Let me just say that up front. But I have a memory that came flooding into my head, and I know that you said this, Laina, because I've repeated it to people in one of our previous classes years ago. That I always remember when I'm upset about something that is misinformation or disinformation, or when I have a friend who is, and that is that anything that is not of God, which I consider that means that it's not true, will implode. You've told us that a lot. It may not implode in the time frame that you want it to, but this is going to blow up in that person's face because it's not of God and it's not true. And you know, if you just wait it out, it's probably going to just fizzle out on its own, would be what, you know, I would suggest, but I know that's probably hard to do. And I just wanted to share that things that aren't true, they implode. They do. They dissolve and they go away.
Well, it is true. It is true that I'm not vaccinated. That is true.
Oh, I thought you said you were vaccinated.
Oh, no.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
okay.
No. Oh, no.
Yes.
And
but
I'm not.
Here's what I don't want us
but
to
her
get caught
agenda
up.
is probably not of truth. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what's not true is the attack on what's not true is that you can be diminished, Kat. That's what's not true. So we've got to find your place in the truth of this so you can stand up, because being pissed is an energy. And right now we are being called to utilize the energy. Jesus wouldn't get vaccinated. Why? Because Jesus would heal himself. And that's what we all have access to. And that's what we are being called. Thanks, Eli, for that. So we are being called to own where the power for healing comes in. We have totally forgotten where healing comes from. So I'm going to share with you, Kat, as we go through this particular lesson, you're going to hear what to do. So we don't have to tell you what to do. You're going to hear what is going to feel right for you. But I can assure you that God wants you to realize that in your defenselessness, your safety lies. Get your heart set in that you don't need defending. However, you are here in the world and we're operating in it. So there are things that you will have to do if you are led to do them. Just make sure your heart goes along for the ride. Otherwise, your ego will just create more problems. Yes, Dr. Byrne.
Yeah, I'm glad you said what you just said, because this is that tricky area again. Mm-hmm. And that's, we're going to be constantly, I believe, given the opportunity of being challenged. In other words, every time we feel and experience something that's less than God, hopefully as we evolve more, we become more aware of that. And so once you become aware of it, the next point is, what do you do with it? And like you said, if we react to it, then the intention behind any action that you might take is tainted. And you get into a fruit loop where action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction. And I think what, for me, what I'm getting very clear on is we can't put our head in the sand. We can't not allow us to have our freedom stripped from us. We cannot allow other people to control us. especially our environment or our safe space, our home or whatever it is. But for me, what I'm getting very clear on is that I believe that Kat has some action steps, and it's the intention behind the action. It's why you're doing things. So you said, is there a lawyer? The thing is that that's one option that you have available to you. I don't know how strong that case would be because of many different things. But to not be able to take action once you've had these type of experiences, that would be like putting your head in the sand, basically. And I see a lot of people, psycho-spiritually oriented people, the good people that are out there, the spiritual people that would just say, oh, well, just fluff it off, don't pay any attention to it, coming back from a spiritual principle. That's the first step. Get centered in self so that you're very clear that your initial response is a reaction. And especially if there's negative energy around it, feelings around it, that means you're not ready to take action. But once you get clear about what's really going on and what's happening, then you can step back and say, okay, now what am I being led to do? What is my next step? What's my action step? And that's the piece. And that requires time. It's very interesting because that gives you time to not react, okay, but basically to take an action that's aligned with your intention. But if we don't do something, we all have this responsibility. By the way, Friday's Constitution Day, by the way, in case you didn't know that. This coming Friday is Constitution Day. And we wouldn't have the right and the freedom to even have these classes and talk like we're doing right now if we didn't have that ability. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Somebody has to step up periodically and make sure that that's there. And sometimes that it requires a lot of very strong actions. It's what's behind the action. It's the energy that you're using to move forward with. And I think that's what we're getting, Laina. I think that we're getting out of our discussions and classes is to realize that it's not that we're supposed to just cow down because we're spiritual people. It's that we need to get very clear about what our intention is. What is the energy behind the action? If you're not led to do anything, if it says just peace, don't do anything, don't do anything. But I have a feeling that you'll get all kinds of good suggestions if you're willing to just sit back and let it come to you. Now, asking, and Laina, this is where I go back to again, these type of discussions, when I'm in a situation and I'm emotionally charged around it, I need to have other people I can talk to about this, that I can express my feelings, my frustrations in that. People that I trust, that allow us to have this type of dialogue so that when I'm in my stuff, I know I got people around me that will remind me of that. And they might have some action steps that you might want to look at, things that they've done in the past, but never, ever take on that role of putting that action into place if the intention is not aligned with your higher self. Okay?
Vern, can I reach out to you later?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yes, so wonderfully said. And Jen, thanks for your comment about having vaccine and dealing with that. Because the opportunity here is for everybody to find their own truth and to stand for it. And we're all going to stand for truth at different levels of knowing truth. That's just the way that it is. And this woman who is a busybody, she's at one level, and Kat, you are at a different level of knowing truth. So here's the opportunity that I don't want you to miss. This is what the ego wants you to do, to be so busy defending yourself, you forget to become the teacher of God that she needs so that she can have an opportunity to rise up to a new level of knowledge. We are teaching what we're here to learn. And until we get to the place that we realize that all of us are one, that whatever you are doing for you, you are basically a teacher to your own self in the other people, the other expressions of God, for how they can shift and lift out of where they are. So it's an absolutely important thing, and that's what these lessons, that's what these teachings are here, because in a way, it's about doing something that impacts both people in a positive way. You get grounded more in the truth, so you raise your frequency from reaction to responding with clarity, and at the same time, you're planting a seed that allows a brother or a sister of God to be able to also rise into a higher dimension. If we go defensive, we are going down to their level. We're fighting fire with fire. And when we go down to that level, we literally have lost our ground. We now are not teaching anything about God. We are re-teaching that the ego's way is the right way. So we are in a place where we have an incredible opportunity. Truly, truly, as teachers of God, we are here to bring the world a chance of seeing another way, of seeing that, as Jesus said, each and every one of us, we've got to get comfortable that we are the way, we are the light, we are here for a reason. So let me get into the teachings, because that's where you're going to find some information, Kat. And Vern, I'm so glad that you said what you said. Sharing here is to share how to do things the way of God. If we do it the way of the ego, the Course gives us the perfect way to rebalance ourselves, and that's to forgive ourselves for having forgotten the way of God. And no matter what we do, God is not upset with any of us, because God realizes that we are eternal beings having a temporary experience. And so what? If you go through this journey and somebody messes up your reputation, or somebody, you lose a limb, or you lose your money, or you lose whatever, or even if you lose your body, you lose your physical life, you're still eternal. You get out of the playground, you complete the journey and go, wow, wasn't that fascinating? I died with a bomb, or I died from cancer, or I died, in my sleep. Wow, that was so exciting. Let me go back in and do something different. So if we don't come to the place that we get playful with this, we lose our perspective of why we're here. We are here to remember that we're powerful, and you can't remember you're powerful if you keep battling people, defending yourself to all those people you think took your power from you. That continues to perpetuate the insanity that the ego wants us to believe is real. So when you treat somebody outside of you as if they have no power over you, then you come to let them know, hey, I hear you, and that's not what I'm saying that you do, Kat. I'm talking in general. This is what God wants us to do. Hey, I hear that you went around and shared with everybody that I'm unvaccinated. Thank you so much for doing that for me. I want everybody to know that I stand very, very clear, very grounded in my conviction. I have a relationship with God, and I've come to know that my body is under no laws but God's, and I live a very healthy, wonderful life. If you want to let everybody else know how to be healthy, I'd be happy to teach a class to the whole community. So thank you for informing everybody. Now you totally have completely disarmed this thing to hurt you by saying you're not hurt by the truth. Again, I'm not saying that that's what you should say, but let's read inside of this particular section, lesson 153, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. Before I jump to that, let me do I forgot to do this quick little housekeeping. So I've got these two events, these Wednesdays gathering, where really it's me teaching about the Course. That's the essence of this. I'm offering what the Course is saying, so that it's a class. On Tuesday nights, well, we've started 2 Tuesdays per month. This is a gathering for us to come together, to really get to know each other, to support one another. Yes, there is some information about the Course, but as those of you who used to come to the Course in Miracles at Unity, you know that sometimes we may not get past a sentence or two, maybe we're lucky a paragraph. because it's about how to apply it into our everyday life, and it's more conversational, more community building, so that we see that we're not alone. There's a little bit of that here, but that's not really the main purpose here, because here you're going to read what's here. We're going to talk about this, and you take what you think resonates for you. But in the Tuesday nights, it's more about building that community that supports each other. And then on the 25th of September, I have my one-day workshop, an in-depth look at the ego. We had the ego basics last week, where we looked at just the basics of the ego, kind of a foundation for how the ego gets created, the function of a conscious parent versus an unconscious parent. And then we're going to go in depth and see the ego belief structure in our own personal lives. That's going to be really, really in depth. You're going to leave with a blueprint of your egoic belief system so that you can see how it works. If you want to come to that one-day class, on my website, register for that. If you register for that and you didn't make it to the basics, then I'll send you a link to the raw file of that basics class, so that you can take what we talked about, because I'm not going to repeat what I just said that night, but it's going to give you a foundational understanding for where we're picking up on when we get to the workshop on the 25th. And again, that's Saturday, September 25th. Thanks those of you who have already registered. I appreciate that. It's 10 to 5, and it's $95 for that one. And anyhow, all right, so let's go to In My Defenselessness, My Safety Lies. I want to read a couple of things from the last 2 days, or the last 2 times that we met. One thing inside of chapter 1 is the world provides no safety. Do not look for safety in the world, because it's not there. The world is a projection of our insanity until we clean it up, and then we project our divinity. And the world right now, you find pockets of divinity in certain places that are loving, that are kind. Those places that are expressing the love of God are going to be growing and expanding. That's what's going to create the new earth. Those of us who shift and lift and acknowledge our divinity, own it, and then we begin to seek like-minded people operating at that frequency, and we are literally going to be bifurcating. We are going to be dividing. Those who believe in freedom, we're going to have those red states, and those who believe in controls are going to have the blue states. Humanity is going to be dividing. It's the nature of the process of understanding very clearly, as within, so without. That's why you cannot find safety in the world, because we've been looking to external authorities to keep us safe, and what we're seeing is that they can't. However, temporarily, we're going to move to the areas where we feel safe, because energetically, we're going to be vibrating, resonating with the same story. Our mind is going to get really clear about the distinction between freedom, faith in God, that's the only place freedom comes from, and what slavery, what enslavement, what control is all about. We have to see the prize. This is what it's all about. The prize that we receive, which is nothing more than the consequence of our choice. And when you choose God, freedom is it for all. When you choose the ego, well, some get it, and some get to control, and others get controlled, which is where enslavement comes in. Somebody has to give up their freedom for somebody to have control. If you are the one that is believing that you have freedom, if you do not align with God, you will not be of the frequency that will be able to come together and uphold freedom for all. Many are going to be tested in the middle, where they want freedom, but they don't want to leave the safety of the job. They want freedom, but they don't want to leave the safety of the family, the community. The Bible tells us that at some point we have to leave our country, we have to leave our family, we have to leave our children, because we have got to learn to not rely on anything external for freedom. The tests are upon us. What you're attached to has power over you. And if you're attached to something, you're going to have a really hard time freeing yourself. And the only way to really free yourself is if you know yourself. So, first thing, the world provides no safety. We are going to be tested on that. Another thing that I want to reference to is in paragraph number 4. It says, defenses are the costliest of all prices which the ego would exact. So when you start defending, it does two things. You're in opposition to another, but you set your mind in opposition to the truth of who you are that needs no defense. Which is why when you're defending, you can't be honest about your power because you don't know your power. If you knew your power, you wouldn't have to defend it. Jesus gave us the perfect example of one who didn't defend himself when he was being led to be crucified. Now, you don't have to let yourself be crucified, killed, whatever, shamed or whatever in the town square to prove that you are a child of God. That was something Jesus had to do because he was teaching a humongous lesson that we're not a body, we are free. So the crucifixion was of the fiction that you are your body, and the resurrection was the recognition that he is non-physical first and foremost, which is why he appeared to others in a non-physical way, because he didn't have the density of a physical body. Big lesson that is taking us over 2,000 years to understand. Until we recognize that we're not a body, we're not going to be free. So when you're defending yourself, your title, your money, your status, your whatever, your, what people think of you, when you're defending that, you are continuing to believe, this is why it's one of the costliest things to do, that you don't have the power of God accessible to you. So you've got to be really clear. Your mind has to be clear. The line in the sand is between thought systems. Are you believing what the ego is saying, or are you believing what God is saying? Because when you align with God and you are no longer seeking for power outside of you, what happens? You align with power inside of you. And that power may tell you, go look at that woman and say, bitch, please. Don't you be talking about me this way. It may tell you to do that. It may tell you to say whatever I said earlier. It may tell you, and many people are going to be led. Everybody's going to be led at the frequency that they're at. So the consequence of what they do is going to come from the frequency that they vibrate at. When you are honest, you have your reaction, see the consequences, you correct with forgiveness, and you shift and lift. And that's what's so important here. So in paragraph 6, it tells you that this world that we have created, you are its slave. We are a slave to a system that has imprisoned us, and we don't even know that we are behind bars, because if you really think about it, there's very little that we can really do without somebody watching us. You want to go to the park, you want to go to the mountains and go hiking, and well, you got to register with somebody. When you get there, you got to get your pass. They got to know where you went. You got a phone. You think you're free because you got your iPhone. Well, your iPhone's tracking you. You think you're free because you're shopping from wherever store you want to shop at. Well, Amazon knows everything you buy. So we don't really have freedom. We are in enslavement. But we're only in enslavement because we are unaware of who we are. And we are unaware of who we are because we've been conditioned to believe that we're something that we're not. That's what this journey of awakening is. Find your power within, and then we move out of enslavement. We've been taught, oh, only the blacks were slaves, or only the Irish people were slaves. I recently found out that the Irish went through major enslavement. It's part of my heritage. I'm a quarter Irish. I know I don't look it, but I am. And so there is enslavement everywhere. Right now, human trafficking, that's enslavement. You're in debt, you're enslaved to money. So we didn't realize that we've all been slaves because our mind is not ours. because our mind has been conditioned to be always vigilant to what authorities say we can and cannot do. Then it goes on to say in paragraph 6 that defenselessness is strength. And defensiveness in paragraph 7 is weak. All right, so where do we left off last week was in paragraph number 8, which I want to repeat. We will not play such childish games today. I love this. Jesus is saying, stop playing childish games. You're playing silly games. We're playing slaves. That's it. If we could be honest about our slavery, we would say, oh yeah, I'm in debt to my eyeballs. That's my slavery. Or I'm in a marriage that I'm not happy in a relationship. I'm in a job that it's miserable. It sucks the life out of me. I'm indebted to the government. I owe so much in taxes. I'm a slave to what my religion tells me. I can't wear an outfit that's religion doesn't approve. So if we realize, oh, we're playing the slavery game, really, all of us incarnated to come to a certain place on this planet and be a slave somewhere, so that no different than the Jews who were, Moses took them out of the enslavement in Egypt, 40 years walking around the desert. Most of them didn't get their mind shifted out of slavery. It took the ones that they gave birth to begin to think of themselves as not slaves. So the mind that is conditioned to think authority is outside of us is playing the childish game we came to play, but we also came to play the game of ending that silly game and starting a whole new game, the game of equality. We get to play. That's why you have to become like a little child to enter the kingdom of heaven, because a little child, the mind is still adventurous. So look at what's happening. Kat, look at what this woman is doing as an adventurer. She has just invited you to play a game, and you can either be a slave to the game or you can understand the rules of the game. And that's what this Course in Miracles says, the rules to the game of life, so that you can play it from a higher frequency. And guess what? Nobody gets hurt, because there is nothing inside of the game of God that would see anybody as deserving to be attacked, which is what defensiveness does. Defensiveness is a game of hot potato. Oh my God, it's burning me. I'm going to smack you in the face with the freaking potato so that you get to hurt, so that I'm not the one holding the pain. So let's look at this paragraph 8 again. We will not play such childish games today, for our true purpose is to save the world, and we would not exchange for foolishness the endless joy our function offers. So we are here to find incredible joy when we realize this game that we're playing, we don't have to play it anymore. You know how you stop playing the game with the government? Stop seeing them as authorities. I mean, to me, it's like they're just nothing more than a bunch of children acting out the pain body that they carry, And what I see, sweet little brother, my holy brother Fauci, that man, I see a scared little 8-year-old boy. Every time he speaks, I'm like, oh my goodness, this kid is really hurting. So the last thing I want to do is attack my brother when he needs to be seen for the pain that he's carrying, and me say, hey, I know there's power inside of you. Now start being nice to people instead of being so vicious. We've got to begin to see everybody and feel into the age that we feel that they are, because when we can tap into their age is because we have been able to tap into that pain in ourselves at that same age. 8 years old Fauci is my 8-year-old Laina, who felt abandoned when I was sent to boarding schools in Europe. And I feel, when I look at Fauci, I'm like, oh my God, I can see this, I can sense that pain of trying to prove he deserves something. And how is he proving he deserves something? By power over the people, by taking, having this position and having power to kill people. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So the ego takes everything to an extreme. The lower you are, the more evil you get. Because why? Because the game, these are the rules of the game. You come in from up above, you drop down into density, and you go as low as you want to go. And you can go as low as you want to go because the game is designed for the one who's above you to help you up. We give each other a hand. That's why it is our job to lend a hand to raise the frequency. But if we don't know the rules of the game, we go down there and we get stuck. What gets you stuck? Defensiveness and attacking. And when you enter into that game, the two of you are stuck in the quicksand of ego land where there's no getting out because somebody has to be right no matter what the cost. So sentence number 3 says, we would not let our happiness slip by because a fragment of a senseless dream happened to cross our minds, and we mistook the figures in it for the Son of God, its tiny instant for eternity. When this person who is giving you the opportunity, and that's all that they are, those irritations are invitations for us to see what the ego is going to do, or for us to see what are we going to do with this new game that is now being played with awareness. We've got the playbook for how to play the game from the soul's perspective, which is about rising. When we play the game from the ego's perspective, is about enslavement and going lower. Which way do you want to go? It will be determined by your choice. Your choice of, are you going to attack or are you going to invite somebody into a new way of looking at things? So paragraph number 9. So this is where we start new with the teachings where we left off. Paragraph 9. We look past dreams today and recognize that we need no defense because we are created unassailable, without all thought or wish or dream in which attack has any meaning. So I want to invite you for a second. I want each and every one of us here, let's just sit with the word unassailable. Feel into the frequency of unassailable. Nothing can hurt us. Feel into that. If you have a hard time feeling unassailable, it's because you're playing the game with the ego. If unassailable means you recognize, wow, I've got the power of God right here. I'm a holy being, holy divine being having a physical experience temporarily. Do I want my legacy to be that I am weak? Do I want my legacy to be that I am unassailable? Unassailable. So I want to ask whoever had an experience with the word unassailable, whether it made you go, oh my goodness, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what it would be like to have that kind of, no bullet can hurt you. I mean, think of yourself as Neo in the Matrix. Nothing can affect you. That unassailable. Or one who can be attacked, who can be hurt. So please unmute yourselves if you had any kind of an experience with the word unassailable and share what you experienced.
I'll share, Laina.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah. So yeah, I felt it. It was like deep relaxation, just like totally at peace. I visualized myself. Where I feel God the strongest is in the ocean, just like out there floating, that's what it felt like. The stuck point that I always get at is what relationship do I have with my kids in that? That's always my for me, I can feel that. But then I'm like, I want to defend my kids. I want to protect them from all harm. I want to, that's when the frenzy gets going.
Yes, and that makes perfect sense. And what you want to do is the best way to help your children is to teach them that they're unassailable too. So whenever mommy gets mad at anything, you can say, okay, that's mommy's stuff. And even if I scream and yell at you or send you time out, you are powerful beyond measure. And you let them know that their strength comes from inside of them, not from mommy. And that if mommy is doing something to protect them, it is simply because they are underage. They are not yet of an age that they understand how to play the full game. So you're assisting them, you're guiding them through the maze until such time that they pick up enough information about the game, and then they can play by themselves. So your work to protect them is to stay aware what's coming at them. Is what's coming at them low frequency or high frequency? We don't have to protect anybody when people are inviting us into something wonderful that is honoring of our soul. But when we see something that is low frequency, it is our job to be there protecting, but not protecting because they are weak, protecting their unassailable essence to make it through those younger years, those formative years, until they are fully aligned with that on their own. Does that help to look at it that way?
Yeah, I think that helps, because it's like I have been, chosen to parent them. So, I mean, I have a responsibility there, but
You do.
it's
You do. But don't take
recognizing their greatness,
Exactly.
and protecting, shielding them if I can from the things that try to get them down.
So shield them from lack of awareness. Shield them from things that are not true. Shield them from thoughts and beliefs that assail their awareness, that they are unassailable, as they connect to their own clarity about who they are. And that's really, you're not protecting them from crazy people, you're protecting them from crazy thoughts that create, chaos in the world. So that peace that you find inside of you, that's what you want to help them find inside of them, so that when they get to that 18, 21 year mark, they will have had opportunity to practice that stillness, connecting with the God within, and also having enough experiences where mom was a model of how to deal with the crazy thoughts of others. So to give them permission to have a safe space to learn the rules of the game. So thank you for sharing that. Who had an experience that maybe wasn't so peaceful, that you went right to peace, that the unassailable was like, oh, I don't know that I have that kind of power. You don't mind sharing? Maybe in this group that nobody got that. So share if you got something, similar about strength that you feel comfortable. And if not, we keep reading. So here we go. So let me read that again. We look past dreams today. Dreams are just made up stuff. It's a game. We have made up a whole bunch of stories, and we are now seeing what is the story of the ego, what is the truth of God. So we look past dreams today and recognize that we need no defense because we are created unassailable, without all thought or wish or dream in which attack has any meaning. So we want to correct our mind. No thoughts, no wish can attack who we are. Now we cannot fear, for we have left all fearful thoughts behind. And in defenselessness we stand secure, serenely certain of our safety now, sure of salvation, sure we will fulfill our chosen purpose as our ministry extend its holy blessing through the world. Miss Cat, you did not know that you actually have a ministry, and your ministry is to extend your unassailable awareness to those who are attempting to attack you, because that woman is in your life to play the role of one who gives you an opportunity for you to really realize how unassailable are you. How are you going to stand in your power? And in your power means it's possible that you are going to have other playmates in this world. There could very, very well be all kinds of playmates that want to play the game with you in ways that assist you in standing up firmly, but also with certainty, because in this world that we are living in, we are here playing the game of cowboys and Indians. It's a wild, wild west here right now. So we've got to find those cowboys that we want to align with, or those Indians, depending on what you feel is the frequency you want to align with. And I just put in the chat group here for you a potential playmate. This is Lynn Wood. He started an organization called fightback.law. And they are offering legal advice for anybody who is basically dealing with any kind of COVID stuff that is not legal. And none of the COVID stuff that's going on, the way that they're doing it, forcing people, just talking about people's medical stuff. We've got laws against all of that protect the right to privacy. And they are willing to assist anybody who is looking to pursue the legal game with that level of awareness. So we're talking about people with high integrity that understand, that are protecting freedom first and foremost, because they protect the Constitution. They're constitutional attorneys around the world that are members, or around the country that are members of Fight Back Law. So when you understand that we all have a ministry to fulfill, and most of us don't really know what our ministry is until we encounter a difficulty that has us have an experience where we rise out of something that was really uncomfortable. We rise out of a hole that we found ourselves in. And in the rising, our way of coming out is what becomes the help to somebody else. There are no bestsellers about how to dig yourself into a hole and stay there. We don't see movies like that. Nobody would pay money to go to that. But we pay money for books, for movies, to go to workshops and have somebody show us how to get out of the hole, how to play this game of awakening. It's the hero's journey. The hero enters down into the cave, gets lost in the forgetting its power, and then it has to slay all the dragons of fear-based thoughts in the mind until it rises out of that back into the light, realizing the truth of who they are. That's what we're doing. Our ministry is to let our life be an example. That's why Jesus said, I am the way. I am the way. Laina's the way. Vern is the way. Kat is the way. Each of us is showing the way to somebody who wants to see it. That's why Jesus said, greater works than I will you do, because we are each impacting who we impact. Jesus cannot impact every single person. Does not every single person follow Jesus's teachings, but he can't be around with everybody. So each of us has to come to the place that we find the unassailable aspect within, that we connect with that part of us that is so powerful, so magnificent, so certain about who we are, that from that place we realize this is all a game, and we become childish. Not childish, we become childlike. Childish is the ego side, but we become childlike and decide, all right, let me go sit, let me go into my closet, let me go get quiet. God, what would you have me do? And at my frequency, Kat, I would go and thank that woman. Oh wow, thanks for putting that out there. Now I don't have to create the posters I was going to put out anymore. You already got the message out to everybody. I would absolutely let her know that she is a holy child of God, and whatever she did doesn't scare you. So it is up to you to deal with this thing by calling on the Holy Spirit to meet you wherever you are. If you go low and want to attack, forgive yourself for that. If you attack, forgive yourself for it. If you want to rise and let the Holy Spirit guide you, you will get the right and perfect situation. And as Vern said, take some time. This is why patience is beautiful. Take some time, pull back, sit inside of clarity. These people may be the perfect opportunity for some of them, maybe not all, to say, why are you not vaccinated? Are you not scared? I mean, the opportunities for God to use a holy child of God who is unassailable, all of a sudden, now your ministry is 2 towers, 2 whole buildings. It could possibly be, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 60 people, maybe 100 souls. Out of those souls, if one can give up their fear of COVID because somebody like you showed courage, showed that you don't mind researching, You have just given a gift to a holy brother or sister to pull out of the matrix. And when we stay in the I don't know what anything is for, God can use us. But if I already know what everything is for and I'm going to attack, this bitch that did this to me, we are not usable by God, because the ego is using us for its own game. And that's where we really have to get super, super clear about what's in our mind, so we can get honest and evaluate where we are first. And that is, that's the work of mastery. Find out where I am, and then get clear that if I'm not coming from my light, I need to sit with my darkness and see what do I need to forgive about myself. Because until I forgive that, I cannot turn my light on. So then it goes on to say in paragraph number 10, be still a moment. Well, here we go. Vern, you were talking before we were supposed to get to this chapter, preparing us for what's coming in this particular section. Be still a moment, and in silence think how holy is your purpose, how secure your rest, untouchable within its light. God's ministers have chosen that the truth be with them. Who is holier than they? Who could be sure that his happiness is fully guaranteed? And who could be more mightily protected? What defense could possibly be needed by the ones who are among the chosen ones of God, by his election and their own as well? So, how are we the chosen of God? And we thought it was just the Jewish people. How are we the chosen of God? We're the chosen of God because God chose to have a human experience through us. That's how we're chosen. So everybody is chosen because God wants to be a plumber, lawnmower person out there, a teacher of Course in Miracles, a mother, a father, a president, a ISIS terrorist, or whatever. God is in each and every one of us, expressing itself in all these different levels of consciousness. Well, we can't have a game if we're all right here. A game that allows us to see how far away from the truth can we go. We needed a game that included the ego so we could deny what we are. But we've been playing that game for a long time. We're tired. Some of us are tired of the same game. Go down and go back up, go down, go back up. That seesaw? Some of us are tired of that and we want to get off the seesaw. Some of us want to enter the merry-go-round and we want to go play with others who want to play at the same frequency. God chose each one of us, including the evil ones. God is choosing to play that role because in the contrast of good and evil, we get to decide what frequency do we want. And the days are going to end for many of us who are done learning at those low frequencies. But some in those low frequencies are going to incarnate and have experiences in 3D existences. It won't be long before this planet will not have 3D people, because they will be incarnating on other planets where that energy is okay. This planet, and I'm talking about the Earth, Gaia, she has been playing the game, went down as low as it could go, where we totally pillaged, raped her land, sucked the oil out of her. It's like sucking the blood out of her, and she's done. She's done. So she's shaking it off. She's pissed. She's shaking it off, and she is rising to the place that she is only going to accept on her planet happy people, because the planet it wants to be happy, so that the animals, the plants, everything lives in peace, coexists. Nobody's eating each other. And all of the weather is going to be stable, because we want to see a game where everything operates in the same light. It's not going to be boring, but we're going to operate in the frequency of collaboration and co-creation, because we're tired of the frequency of competition and winners and losers. So what is God saying to us right here? Get silence, go inside, find out what your role is, know that you were chosen. So if you were chosen by God to be you, it's because you have this unassailable power in you. Are you going to tap into that power and bring that forth so that you can be an example for others of what happens when we play nice? Because when you decide to play nice, you must uplift each other. You cannot play the game of collaboration if you're on a seesaw beating each other up. Oh, okay, you just threw a punch, now I'm going to throw a punch. That game is the one that we're getting ready to leave. So by our election, we came to this planet to play this game and then awaken thanks to the game, because we're seeing the insanity. Now the truth will set us free. We don't have to play down there. We don't. And that is only possible when you realize how powerful you are. So why defend what is unassailable when you come to know that it's because God is in you, choosing to be you? And that's what is getting activated for those who are waking up, is that memory of the truth of who we are. That's what's so incredible here. So let's go to paragraph 11, and then we'll complete with paragraph 11. Yes, they'll complete here. So it is the function of God's ministers to help their brothers choose as they have done. Though we just talked about that. We help them choose by being the way. We show the way. We model the way of kindness, of gentleness. We do unto others what we would like them to do unto us that they didn't do. So we then show them what is possible, that actually their soul is looking for somebody to model that. They may not know it in conscious awareness, but their soul knew, I'm coming into the game and a whole bunch of other souls are going to remind me how to go back up. Well, the irritations are the invitations for souls that awaken to help others rise. If that soul is not awake enough itself and it's operating from ego, it cannot help another rise. It has to stay down there in the quicksand of ego's evilness, because it's not really as awake as it might think that it is. This is where the walk the talk comes in, where you have to be honest. Are you walking the talk or not? So God has elected, paragraph 11, sentence 2, God has elected all. Listen to this really clearly. But few have come to realize his will is but their own. All of us come in to play the game of forgetfulness. This is a divine game of hide and seek. I'm going to go hide my truth, and then I'm going to seek it, because I know some of you are going to remind me. Some of you are going to turn on your light so I can see my way out of the darkness. But if you don't turn on your light, don't worry. We got more incarnations. We're going to keep playing the game until we get tired of playing the game of darkness. Until we get tired of the game of darkness, we have the process of forgiveness to ease our discomfort while we are in the muck. And that's important. So we are always forgiving ourselves for forgetting that we have the light. That's it. I mean, it's super, super simple. Why? Because we will not play such childish games today. When you don't want to play that game, you forgive yourself and readjust your compass so that you're moving north instead of south, or moving to the light instead of continuing to the darkness. God has elected all, but few have come to realize his will is our will. God wills we be happy. This is why I love teaching the Course in Miracles, as it aligns with the Constitution, because God wills for us perfect happiness, perfect peace, perfect freedom to choose to go evil, to choose to go to the light. Nobody here is doing what they're doing without their will be aligned with God. God wills each and every one of us play the game however we want to play it, because it gives God the opportunity to extend itself in all the possible ways that it can. But God knows that darkness is an absence of light. You turn your light on, darkness disappears. because God didn't will the creation of light or of darkness. God willed that we go and deny the light as far as we possibly can, but it will never be eternal. It'll only be during a temporary incarnation, which means we always, no matter what, are going to return to the light. So when we get that the game of darkness is only on this planet temporarily, don't worry about if you don't find your light in this incarnation. You got more. Seriously, don't take this whole enlightenment thing too seriously, because you'll drive yourself crazy if you don't meet the enlightenment agenda. And many people actually who seek the light deny the darkness that they have to face. So don't get too caught up with being too spiritual. Be more concerned with being honest. Once you understand the truth of the two, defenselessness, defensiveness, loving, fearful, seeing equality, seeing differences and judging them from them, because of them, freedom or slavery. Once you know the distinction between the two, your honesty is what makes you enlightened, not chasing the light. Because chasing the light and you're trying to get there and you haven't looked at all of this, you're not going to get to light. You'll be looking for it, you'll be chasing it, and that's a trap. That's a trap that we get into in religion, spirituality. Many of those things keep us stuck in those patterns. So sentence 3, and while you fail to teach what you have learned, salvation waits, and darkness holds the world in grim imprisonment. Listen to this. If you choose to not be honest and turn on your light and be kind and be gentle, if you choose to fail to teach to others what you have learned, salvation waits. Don't worry. There's another incarnation or another opportunity a week later or a month later or a year later. Because the darkness will hold the world in its horrible, grim imprisonment, waiting for you to turn your light on to help it. It's not going to change without you. You have to be part of the change that you want to see in the world. Sentence 4, nor will you learn that light has come to you and your escape has been accomplished. For you will not see the light until you offer it to all your brothers. As they take it from your hands, so will you recognize it as yours. One of my favorite lessons in the course is giving and receiving are one. That's one of the tricks. I didn't realize it until it became so clear to me that God tricked me. Tricks all of us. That you cannot keep the light until you give it away. You cannot keep the joy until you give it away. You cannot keep the abundance until you give it away. That's why it's, all of these things are characteristics of a teacher of God, is one who has realized that there's nothing you would want to keep to yourself, because if you need to keep it for yourself, you don't believe that it is abundant. And if you don't believe that it is abundant, you will not realize who you are. A powerful creator that creates indefinitely, incessantly, forever and ever. So this is a big lesson. This is why nobody is going to find a peace of God within until they realize that there's nothing to defend when you know that you are unassailable, when you know the power of God in you. So that takes us through paragraph 11 out of 20 paragraphs. So this is a powerful, you can't go through this lesson too fast. And it is something that it's important, super important, that people come to understand the importance of realizing that defensiveness puts us in a double bind. Our mind thinks we need to be right about attacking, and our heart stays closed, and we cannot reach for the light, cannot reach for the peace, the love that we were actually wanting. So anyways, stopping there, what are your thoughts, comments? Did you pick up a nugget today? Can you take something from this and apply it into your life? Or have you seen these things applied in your life and you're going, yes, I've achieved that. Thank goodness. So please share. Unmute yourselves.
Hi. Can you
Hello,
hear
Miss
me?
Andra. Yes.
I had an incident happen yesterday, and I really don't know. Anyway, a friend of mine called and asked would I ride to Chico's with her, and so I did. And we got there, and on the door there was a sign that said, "You cannot come in unless you've been fully vaccinated, and it has to been within 2 weeks prior to you entering this store." Well, she says, "Oh no," because she's been fully vaccinated. I just looked. I just opened the door and walked in. Spoke to the clerks. "Hello, how are you?" And I didn't even really give it that much thought. I mean, that's like, does anybody have the right to tell you that you cannot come in their store? Or anyway, I didn't give it a second thought. I just opened the door and went in.
So you feel good about that?
I did. I felt really good about it.
So you were standing in your unassailable essence, and good for you. Thank you. And the more of us that are not faced by these things, and if somebody stops you and questions you, and you want to be honest and say, "No, I'm not fully vaccinated, but can you show me that you don't have herpes?" You know, if we begin to see the insanity of this, how do I know that you don't have something I could catch? If we get to the place that we are not scared by what is going on, you're going to move about. You know, Crystal and I have a favorite little restaurant that we like to go to not too far from here, and they require that you wear a mask to go in there. Cafe Alans, and there are times that we both have been there and decided, no, we're not gonna stay there. So we go about our merry way. We don't feel like wearing a mask that day, but they have really good Brussels sprouts. So I was going to a party and I said, I'm going to bring Brussels sprouts. So I put on my mask, I got my Brussels sprouts, and I got out. You know, I was willing to do that. And which ironically, the day that I needed the Brussels sprouts, they had just closed. So I was walking in with my mask and they're like, "Excuse me, ma'am, we're closed." And I'm like, "What? I messed up for nothing?" But anyways, just be light about it. Be light about it. And don't judge. And if somebody gets, you know, the holy brother or sister says, "Ma'am, you have to leave if you're not vaccinated," say, "That's okay. No big deal. You know, there are more stores. God wants us to expand. God may want you to shop at a different place so that you're not always wearing the same things from the same places." So it's all an adventure. It's a new game. We're creating a new game. That's what the new earth is we're getting back into our childlike sense of wonder. And now, how do we want to play? Thank you for sharing that, Dondra. Say, who else? Please unmute yourselves. And if you have nothing to share, at least share, say hello, say have a good day, whatever you want to say. Let's get your energy in here. Yes, Vern.
Yeah, I'm going to spend some time, I've decided already, especially after the class today. I need to look at my actions again. I'm very clear on what I need to do from a psycho-spiritual level, from a mind level, from maintaining my centeredness. But then I have to deal with what's happening in the world out there. And just like you had the experience with a restaurant, and Madondras was sharing the situation which she was under, and, you know, Kat's running into these issues with people on that. I got pretty upset. I don't know what you know what's going on with General Milley or not, but
Yeah.
this is pretty serious. And the reason it's so serious is because his communications with Pelosi and Schumer, as he was doing all this, he offered basically the military to go out and enforce things that they felt were necessary. We're this close to a physical reality of an enforcement type of situation where people could literally on again, this is a physical level, could hinder our freedoms, basically. And I think what's happening is it's pushing so hard now. there's got to find a release of some type. And I think we're going to see something like that. And where I'm at is, it goes back to, again, is the action steps. You know, one of my favorite statements, or not statements, but the scenarios of Jesus is when he went to the temple and he turned over the money, the table for the money changers, because it was totally out of alignment with the spiritual principles that he knew to be true. And of course, they said he was angry. I mean, that's how they described it anyway. So, you know, here's an individual that actually had to take physical steps that were not necessarily gentle or harmonious. That there was an actual physicality to his defensive, being not defensive, but taking a stand for his spiritual principles by taking action steps, being physical about something. And this is an area that I'm really dealing with it, and I'm trying to get as clear as I possibly can. You know, walking the talk. We talk things here and we express things here, but eventually, what's going to happen is that we're going to have to do the walk, and that's going to involve some physicality. And you know, I'm pretty clear now where I'm at is I made my decision that freedom, as you know, the First and Second Amendments, that's my big deal right now, and the Constitution. I'm handing out copies of it to everybody I can. But I do know that I'm going to have to eventually possibly take physical actions in order to defend the right on a physical level to have my beliefs and have my freedom of choice and my ability of having liberty. And so this is a really touchy area right now for me, and I'm trying to understand what's going on. And I know that a lot of people, I'm sure as I look around the screen, or as I've been watching the screen, and that is that I know a lot of people might not have the same level of I want to see how I can say it, level of feeling that something is coming on a physical level. And what do you do on a physical level when if somebody came to Kat's door, for instance, and basically said to her, okay, you need to go get vaccinated, or else we're going to shut your power. I mean, I'm just making this up, okay? I know that you said go to Linwood, which is a good idea as far as on a legal level and that. But see, there's an action step. That means that she is taking a physical action to allow her to continue to be who she is, to share her insights with other people so they can have a chance to learn what we're learning here, in a sense. All of that's what's going on right now. And I'm telling you, I wish we could just have one day or one of these sessions where we could just talk about scenarios. What do you do if this happens? What do you do if this happens on a physical level? And I mean, this is where that's not going on anyplace. It's going on in people that are not coming from the same space that we're in right here. In other words, they're there for liberty and everything else, and they're very strong, and they're very, and they're talking some pretty heavy duty stuff that they're doing or about to do. That's not where I'm at. But I do know that so it's not either or, it's both ands. You got to be in a space where you can actually, and this is coming. I mean, we're going to see some of this stuff, and I don't know. I mean, this is just an area that I know. Maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm asking for everybody, but maybe I'd like to hear if anybody else is having these feelings going on inside of them. What am I supposed to do on a physical level? What if I was Rebecca and my child was being threatened on a physical level, her rights being taken away from her or whatever? What am I willing to do? Just talk? I mean, just basically, and I understand. What I'm saying is I want to get in such, and Crystal will relate to this, in Aikido, which is one form of martial arts. The idea is that you get yourself centered, you're clear, you're coming from the highest level you possibly can. When you are physically being attacked, in a sense, you learn to redirect that energy, even on a physical level. And in some cases, extreme cases, you have to take the aggressive point as well. There's got to be some place, there's got to be a balance here. And I'm just concerned about that. That's sorry, but that's where
That's
I'm
all
at.
right. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate knowing where you're at, and that's what gathering on our uh, those
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays is for
Yeah.
us to have more of a community and a conversation and share, and that's what I'm creating a space because some are going to share from what do I do physically, but not everybody is at that level of concern. And everybody
And
is
that, and that, and
at
that,
that
to be honest with
whatever.
you, that concerns me. I'm talking to a lot of people that are coming from a very spiritual viewpoint of what's going on. But then when you ask them, what are you going to do? What are action steps?
Yeah.
They just don't want to, they don't want to talk about that. They just want to be in the safe, sacred space,
Yes.
not realizing that you can't have your physical, safe, sacred space if somebody doesn't step up
Well, and that
on a
is
physical level. So
those opportunities are coming. They're coming because included inside of this COVID mandate are no matter what you want to call it, are the concentration camps that FEMA has
oh yeah,
already started
absolutely, it's
building.
coming.
So it is happening already in other countries. In Australia,
Australia.
they are taking children from families. They're taking people from families. If you're not vaccinated, you're being pulled into these places, and you know whether you believe that that's happening or not is it's up to you. But when you begin to no longer be afraid and you begin to expand your awareness of what's happening, you begin to get to the place where you are preparing. So okay, let me move from that because we've got a couple people who wanted to share, but that's an important thing. Yes, let's talk about how are we preparing. I am been invited to a meeting tomorrow night that I'm going to go. I want to hear what they're doing. That's more of a Christian side because they do a little bit of Bible study with it, but I don't care. God is God is God. So regardless of the book. All right. So Latanya, you had your hand up, and then we'll go to Miss Kathy Stringer. Yes, Miss Latanya.
Hi, Lina. Can you hear me clearly?
Absolutely. Thank you, sweetie.
Okay. Well, the word unassailable, I actually had not thought about that word. I don't usually use it in my vocabulary, but I did feel unassailable earlier this week when I went to the post office. Now, I walked in there and, hey, I need to send this package. No, ma'am, you need a mask. I said, well, the Dunwoody spot doesn't really enforce masks. Well, and here you need a mask. I said, well, I'm going to go to the Dunwoody spot then. Okay. So it looks like it's, a whole lot of fear in here anyway. So I went on over to the Dunwoody and it was fine. But the thing is, I walk into places with a confidence and I don't even think about it. And to me, it feels like 2019. I know these things are, there are things happening, but I have grown this confidence about myself to where I just walk into places and not, without my mask because I don't like wearing it and I don't wear it. And there are times where there's a place where I'm not thinking I'll go in there. They'll say, hey, you need a mask. And then I just don't go in there. But then I'll have my family ask me, well, why don't you wear a mask? Because I said, well, I trust God. I trust God. I trust my own God-given immune system. But then they get immediately offended because, well, I trust God too. Well, I'm like, well, how do you trust God and you're muzzled? So I don't know that we have this difference of opinion of trusting God. So I'll keep trusting in my way because it's freeing me.
Yeah.
It frees me to trust the way that I do. So
And that's the big test. Are you trusting God? Are you following God's will that you be free to do things how you feel they're free? So notice something interesting about the distinction between those who are trusting their immunity, those who are trusting God's message inside, and there are people who trust God and are getting the vaccine, and we have to respect that because everybody's being guided how they're guided. This is, we've got to get really clear that everybody has an opportunity to listen to God, and what they do is going to look different. But if they feel peace, they are listening to God. We've got a lot of people who chose to come onto this planet, participate in taking something that's going to have them check out from this planet to give people lessons. Some people are going to, with God inside, check out through cancer. Some people would check out through the vaccine. Some people would just check out in their sleep. We've got to get clear that what the freedom is freedom for each person to listen to God and do what God is guiding them to do. The people who are trying to control others are not listening to God, because God does not instill fear or the need to control. They're listening to the ego. They just don't know that they're listening to the ego. But when they listen to their ego and they're in front of a person who's listening to God, that's an opportunity for us to lend a hand to a friend, to a neighbor, to a brother, because as it says right here, we are here to help one another. How do we help one another? Is we extend the hand from the frequency that we're at. And if that frequency is steadier in God, the one who's less steady can speak. So anyways, thank you for that comment, LaTanya. That's really wonderful. Kathy Shaw, thanks for joining us. So let's go to Kathy Stringer. Thank you so much, Miss Stringer, for being here with us today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I guess I can come off camera. Let's see. How am I looking today? Pretty rough. Okay. So yes, I won't take up much time. I know we're coming to a close, and first of all, I want to thank you for what you just shared, because what keeps coming through me is being very careful with demonization on both sides. And it's you can sit in this platform and people feel very strongly one way, and you can sit in the other platform where they really, to their heart, feel like they are doing what's best and highest. Yeah. And it's very, very clear in my own personal family. And it's been one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced in my life, is having, people that I love so much can't understand where I'm standing and still love them so much. I was speaking to my dad, who I just love so much, and he didn't know whether I had a vaccination or not. And you know what? I prefer not to talk about it all the time, to be honest. But, and he's talking from watching the news. He lives in Florida, and he said to me, all these people that are unvaccinated and going to the hospital and getting everybody sick, they should just go off. And if they don't want to get vaccinated, they can just go off and die. And that's fine. Of course, not knowing his own daughter is not vaccinated. So I'm listening to him and I'm like, wow, Dad, and I brought up, I'm like, you know what, I'm really praying and listening. And I've just been guided so far in my life not to get vaccinated. And it was like complete silence. And it was an opportunity to show him that there's this demonization, that is coming through the media, but for me too, for me to be like, holding him up, who really is just taking in what he's hearing and thinking, yes, the right thing to do is to get vaccinated, so we're not putting other people at risk. So my real heart of hearts as I listen is just, can I be the Martin Luther King Jr.? Can I show up with peace in a situation where I'm feeling attacked and angry, and still be loved? So what you just shared, giving a hand to your brother, that just feels beautiful to me, as opposed to, you're wrong and you need to see things like I'm seeing them, and if you're not, I'm going to have these certain actions. Now, granted, I'm not saying you don't do what's best and highest for yourself, to take care of yourself, take care of your family, but it's that power to go within, that we're all called, and we all have the opportunity, and really listen from that space of not being attacked, not being angry, that I'm calling myself to. So,
love it. That is so beautiful, so beautiful. And it's really simple. Everybody can only come from one of two places. You're either coming from God or your ego. If you come from God, whatever you choose for you, you feel the peace of it for you, and you let everybody be free to do whatever they want to do. And that's how you can tell who is on the God bandwagon and who is not. Those who are listening to their ego are in fear. No matter what, they're in fear. And they're the ones who need compassion and kindness and gentleness the most, because their fear is terrorizing them. And if we are going to be the hands and the feet of God on this planet, we have got to realize that anybody who seeks to control another is because they are in fear. And wherever you can, depending on what we're dealing with, whether it's going to be a physical action where we got to take our gun because that person in their fear is going to kill us, and you may decide, okay, well, my gun, I'm going to stop you from killing me because I'm not feeling it's my time to go. You do the action that needs to be done, and you know that it's between you and God, and what you did it because you were honoring your freedom to not leave the planet when that person wanted you to leave. The same thing is whether it's at the dinner table with dad or with the neighbor in the condo. If you feel peace, then you be honest about, I'm listening to the voice for God. If they're scared, they're listening to the voice of the ego. That is a call for love. The Course tells us only two things are happening. You are in love and extending it, or you are blocking love and calling for it. That's it. Fear is a lack of love. It's a call for love. So that is the way that we need to look at everything. And in this world that has been operating without love for very long, it is going to have to feel a physical shift because we're in a physical world, and it's going to play out. But the more you align with God and the more you call forth the new earth that you want to see, the more you're going to be guided to focus your energy on that which you want to see manifested. So don't spend all your time or too much time looking at the bad. Spend time with God and in silence feeling into the good that is coming, because we are going to experience a split. Just as you do in your own mind, you see both voices and you're going to have to choose one. We're going to see a split in the world. We're going to see the two voices. Now they can't hide anymore, and we're going to have to choose one. Lawnmower people are here. That's so wonderful that they take care of great care of our yard. All right, folks, I've got a 2 o'clock client, so I'm going to jump off and go grab a quick little bite to eat. Thank you all so much for being here. Please unmute yourselves and put some love in this space.
Thank you, Laina.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
everyone.
much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Love you all. Thank you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.